Scarlett Johansson. Scarjo to her friends, so Miss Johansson to me, I guess. Whatever you call her, the name Scarlett Johansson is synonymous with A-list celebrity. From blockbuster action star to Academy Award nominee, she is one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood, commanding millions per picture. But like DeSantis didn't fall to the sky and land in a lap. Let's take a moment to say Scarlett Johansson got famous, eventually. She's been acting professionally since she was 8 years old, and she was 19 when she finally broke out with an acclaimed double feature. 11 years of work, not exactly an overnight success. It's actually a serious commitment for a kid. Her first professional gig wasn't even in film, it was off-Broadway. She's in Sophistry with Ethan Hawke of all people, back in 1993. Not much is known about stuff like that, but it's always good to know where someone made a start. Another early oddity, but pretty well known, in 1994 she popped up in a comedy sketch on Late Night with Conan O'Brien. She played spelling bee champion Sarah Hughes, a real-life contestant who Conan was mocking in a long-running gag.
Hey, Conan. Yeah. What's that?
She forgot an N.
Scarlett, all of 8, maybe 9 years old, deadpan as ever.
Sidekick. P-S-Y-D-E-K. Sidekick.
That's right, Sarah.
Strange, but true. I'll link the full sketch in the description below if you've not seen it. When she appeared on the show years later, Conan would need to be reminded of it, but she saw the funny side. Her actual movie debut came the same year. She was in the famous box office flop North with Bruce Willis. She played Laura Nelson. Nothing to get excited about, she's one of the kids in a family that North stays with on his travels. I mean, no one's blaming her for flopping or anything, and when asked about it, she calls it a magical experience. She was barely in it when all said and done, but at least something good came of it. Her next film was some actual Hollywood heavyweights, Sean Connery and Lawrence Fishburne in For Just Cause. Scarlett pops up as Sean Connery's daughter, Katie. It wasn't a big role, just a handful of home scenes and a phone call home, but those roles, while small, they're all building her foundation. A quick dip into TV work next on a pilot episode of the Client TV show. Again, a small role, but she's there all the same. Every part can be a masterpiece, especially not at that age. Not for many at least, but every single part is an experience, and if nothing else, she was quickly racking up an impressive, if obscure, resume. Her next film venture would be more important though, Manning and Law. She starred as Amanda opposite Alaska Palladino as her sister. It's about 2 runaways who kidnap a store clerk to help with her pregnancy. It sounds grim when you say it like that, but it plays more indie quirky. Nothing to worry about here, just a coming of age road movie type film. She was only 11 years old, but she didn't just appear in Manning and Law, she pretty much carried it. Her performance as a street smart Amanda earned her an Independent Spirit Award nomination for Best Female Lead. 11. To many, it was an undeniable sign that she wasn't just a cute kid, she was a serious actor. It was memorable enough that Sofia Coppola would cast Scarlett Johansson in Lost in Translation a few years later, but we'll get to that. Critics liked her enough to start paying attention to her, but for whatever reason she ducked out of it, taking on some more normal kid roles for want of a better way of putting it. 2 Eric Schaefer films next, If Lucy Fell and Fall. Smaller roles again, nothing for her to get her teeth into, especially Fall where she just gets the credit of little girl for 5 or so seconds of work. Kind of amusing really. And then Home Alone 3 the same year, yeah, the ones without Kevin. It still gets dug up over Christmas, she plays her older sister Molly. It's probably the first role most people accidentally saw her in. Though, if they remembered or not is another thing entirely. 1998 changed things back again though, back to the acclaimed Arena with the Horse Whisperer. It was directed by Robert Redford, he actually handpicked her for the role. She played Grace, the teenage girl who loses part of a leg in a riding accident. It's a heavy role for a 13-year-old to be sure. And aside, she was out for the kid fairs and back into the grit of it all. And perhaps more importantly, she more than held her own opposite the likes of Kirsten Scott Thomas and Sam Neill. Proved she could still do it. Critics would once again begin to single her out. It had become a turning point. She kept clocking in through the late 90s and early 2000s, some forgettable, some quietly impressive. My Brother the Pig in 1999, which is exactly as silly as it sounds. The Man Who Wasn't There with the Coen brothers, small but stylish. And then Ghost World, based on a cult comic of Daniel Clowes. She'd star opposite Thora Birch, sarcastic, awkward and bleakly funny. Scarlett's deadpan Rebecca had a lot to do with it. She hit it perfectly.
I totally hate you.
Oh, come on, this is a fun party.
Roger Ebert himself even said, sensitive and effective when commenting on her role, which, well, praise indeed from the man himself. That film would have become a cult classic and it showed she could handle offbeat material. In 2003 everything changed really well, what most could only dream of, and to use hyperbole, a spectacular and almost unbelievable double header. First in Sofia Coppola's quiet but iconic Lost in Translation. Scarlett was only 17 during filming, playing the lonely drifting Charlotte opposite the 52-year-old Bill Murray. She was a revelation, mature, subtle and full of quiet stillness. She won a BAFTA for Best Actress for it. Then, not content with one star-making turn, and released in the very same year, she gave an equally acclaimed but entirely different performance as Greet in Girl with a Pearl Earring. She had almost no dialogue, conveying Greet's entire role through looks, posture and restraint. 2 critically acclaimed major performances released back-to-back, each showcasing a completely different type of mastery. I mean, while at 19 she was officially a star. The floodgates were open, but she didn't just take the easy roles. She used the new demand to experiment. Michael Bay's The Island, big budget glossy affair, unsurprisingly. She'd star opposite Ewan McGregor, and it's a film which I personally don't think enough people saw. Hey-ho. It has managed to get a small cult following. It's worth checking out if you ever get a chance. In The Prestige would follow with Woody Allen and a perfect sporting turn in Christopher Nolan's Prestige, propping up Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman. And she was still experimenting until she was building versatility, using it all to her advantage. Which is fair enough. I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do at 19, and hell, I still don't know what to do now. And then, Marvel, Iron Man 2 to be more precise. Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. What started as a side character turned into a decade-long arc across the entire MCU, all the way through to Avengers Endgame and then finally back to her own solo film in 2021. It made her one of the most bankable stars in the world, kind of. She'd follow that up with 2 bold choices in 2013. Her most artistically radical choice came with her Under the Skin. She plays an alien predator, a role so committed that the director used hidden cameras to film her interacting with real, unsuspecting men on the streets of Glasgow as she tried to, pick them up.
I'm looking for the M8.
It was divisive, it was a box office bomb, but it proved one thing: she would risk her commercial status for a challenging art. Definitely an interesting one. I personally wasn't a fan, though I do appreciate how it was made. A fun story if nothing else. Interestingly, it gets a lot of praise now in retrospect, but what she got once was enough for me. And then her. It's only a voice in that one. She voices an AI that Joaquin Phoenix's Theodore falls head over heels in love with, amongst others.
Hello, I'm here.
Oh. Hi.
This one I did like a lot. I would have ended it differently, but I'm not paid enough to make those decisions yet. In 2014, one of my all-time favourite films, Chef, with Jon Favreau. She plays Molly, a small part, but the film's full of actors known for bigger things. They'd also released in 2014 a big budget affair with her as the headliner. It's pretty bearing off and it's fun, which is ironic since the film's all about using 100% of it. Wasn't all capes and saving the world either. She put her voice to work as well, hissing her way through Car in Disney's Jungle Book remake, and shredding guitar as a punk rock porcupine in Sing. And I don't know if you know this or not, and I didn't know until I was researching, but she was actually in the SpongeBob movie in 2004, not long after a breakout. Yeah, she played Mindy in that one. Voice work isn't the stuff people usually think of when they hear her name, but it shows her range. Her voice is just as bangable as her face. But back to the present, she found herself in Ghost in the Shell in 2017, a live-action remake of one of the most iconic Japanese anime films ever made, with Scarlet front and centre. From the start, the casting drew criticism. The original story was distinctly Japanese, and putting a Hollywood star in the lead ignited the whitewashing debate. She defended the role at times, saying she'd never take opportunities away from Asian actors, but the backlash overshadowed the release. The film would underperform, reviews were lukewarm, and the planned franchise quietly disappeared. The uproar would blow over, and she soon picked up prestige projects again, along with some more Oscar nominations. The first for Marriage Story opposite Adam Driver, and then another for Jojo Rabbit. And honestly, that's the most heartbroken I've ever been to see a pair as real on screen. If you know, you know. But 2 nominations in the same year? I mean, come on, you gotta be doing something right there. That being said, she finally got her own solo Marvel movie in 2021 with Black Widow. You'd think after 10 years of Avengers dominance it would have been a no-brainer slam dunk, but it wasn't. It fell flat. The pandemic didn't help, but Disney delayed the release and lawsuits were flying around in the background. The whole thing felt cursed. And while it would make money, it never came close to matching its potential, or riding the highs of what Marvel films usually achieved. It's weird, Scarlett Johansson never quite managed to pull off the solo action blockbuster. Not for the lack of trying either. Lucy in 2014, a glossy big budget science fiction film. Don't get me wrong, it made a pile of money, sure, but nobody's calling it a classic. Ghost in the Shell in 2017, the famous anime adaptation that was supposed to launch a franchise, but it crashed on impact. And then Black Widow itself, which should have been the victor of that, but ended up feeling like an afterthought. But Scarlett Johansson's never been defined by these one-woman action vehicles. It's the ensembles, the prestige turns, and the weird indie swings which she really made a mark. From being the background kid on a famous flock to being a major part of the biggest cinematic franchise in history, and earning Oscar nominations along the way. It took 11 years from a debut to a breakout, and she's hardly stopped pushing herself further and further since. She might even get herself a decent action film one day. She didn't stumble into any of it though. Right from the start she stacked the bricks one by one, year after year, and that's how Scarlett Johansson got famous, eventually.
the knowledge.
If you like this video, then let me know by hitting that thumbs up. Subscribe as well if you want way there. Oh no, I'll be here all the same. Anyways, I've been Paul and this has been Famous Eventually. Thanks for watching.